Well, hello everybody, Mr. O here, and today I'm going to talk about something very important, whether you're a student, you're an art teacher, or just an artist, and it's portfolios, about storing your work, but not just in big paper or leather portfolios, but digitally. One of the easiest ways to store your artwork and keep a history of things, even the stuff we don't like, is by taking pictures, not just of our final pieces, but as we are progressing on a piece. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. One of the best things available to you is the Google Drive. It's a cloud feature, so if you have access to cloud that you don't have to pay for, um, uh, looking for stuff for free, it's the best free out there. Many students and many people are on Chromebook, so they use Droids. I'm sure Apple products have their own version of a cloud. Take advantage of that and actually develop yourself a digital portfolio using your cell phone. That makes it easy. So if you look at my Google Drive, I'm actually in the Mr. O's Art School Google Drive. As you can see, I don't have very much. So I threw a bunch of artwork and it's in Mr. O's Art Portfolio. I open that up and you can see that I have all these other folders. And within those folders, I'm going to have more folders. And we're going to get to these two pictures. These two pictures are down here because I need to also explain something else when it comes to doing digital portfolios. So let me go through my portfolios. So we got Burlington Rising. This is the book that I'm writing, and I have intro pages, I have sketches, I have the gray, the character. I didn't want to give you the name, and I have pictures, and then you'll see stuff like this, either blue or red. That's because some of my work was done digitally, and I either did it in Clip Studio or Photoshop. And so even though I cannot see some of the artwork, it's still there. I still save it within my drive. And because I'm not saving a bunch of videos, out of my 15 gigabytes, I have like 1.32. So even starting like an art Gmail, call yourself, Mr. O's Art Studios at gmail.com. You could do your own name or give yourself a name, and then that's where you store your portfolio, and that way you use your other Gmail for your own personal pictures and stuff and switch everything there. You can see that the different file types, how they pop up, how I can see whether it's a JPEG, a PNG shows up, and a BMP. It's just the Clip Studio format and Photoshop format. I'm sure there's other formats that won't pop up, but don't panic when you can't see something. It just means you might need the actual program. Certain programs have their own file type, so you just might need them to open it up. As you can see, as I go through, we're going to come back to this maybe if I need to. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to hit my digital art one. As we can see, we see the red and we see the blue there, and we see my digital art. But I want you to notice that you'll see some of the same pictures that you just saw in the previous. The reason you do that, or the reason I'm doing that, is I had the gray, but I also have digital art. So some of my work in the Burlington Rising is going to be done in digital, and some of my final pieces I may want in my regular art portfolio that I want to show, whether it's a sketch. And you'll notice that, and I'll probably enlarge one of these. I'm taking pictures of my screens a lot of time. And I'll talk a little bit about the end of the video. Well, I'll tell you right now. None of my pictures have watermarks, and I'm going to do a separate video on how to do a watermark on your art. So when you put it online, if people try to steal it, it makes it a little harder. As somebody who has had their artwork stolen, I completely understand why you guys would be hesitant. And you'll notice that a lot of times when I take pictures work in progress or stuff like that. If you're on any of my Facebook groups or anything, you guys will know I always take an angle. It's very rarely straight on. Now, this was a book that I did called I Know Karate, and these are just 3 of the pages. I'll put more. I just wanted you to see how I titled them. A lot of times I'm taking pictures on my cell phone. I am not very good at doing this, so I'm actually doing this video is forcing me to do something I should have been doing all along. So it's going to take me time to organize this, but I have everything titled. I Know Karate. This is the cover artwork. Doesn't have the words on it. I Know Karate, page 14A, and I Know Karate 18A. That means like 14B and 18B is going to be the pages that have the words on it. And that's how I designed it. But let's say you're a student or you're a teacher who wants your students to do this. You have an art show, an art competition. Every year I do the Frankenstein art contest competition. I don't know if it's more a competition. It's just a fun thing. So I have a separate thing that I keep all my Frankenstein pictures right there. And so if you're in like AP Art Studio, you would put an AP Arts, even though you would make copies of your work. And making copies, if you look right here, you can see that I have a copy. I just right click that and I can just make a copy. If I had it titled right, and you would want to do the title before you start making copies. So I just doubled the image up, and that allows me to put it in multiple folders. And you can see that I do have folders within folders. So I go to my marker, and you'll see all the different choices. You know, I do a lot more marker than I did probably the digital, but I didn't download all my digital. Now I'm going to go to Eva the Archer. There was some positives and there were some negatives. So you can just see by the images. I'll see if the picture viewer. I start making basically progress shots. So basically a progress versus an inquiry or an investigation. In college, even in high school, you'd be asked, okay, how are you developing your art? This is progress. All I'm doing is basically showing you where I stopped or I got stuck on, but I'm not showing you how I found the solution or how I learned or experimented with anything. So this is just progress shots. I'm going to show you a little investigation, a little inquiry, but you don't have to really get hung up on that just yet. And here's the final piece. Now here's what the bad thing. I drew this for a person and I didn't think much of it. I don't know if I really took a very nice picture. I think I took a quick picture, and we'll probably talk about how to set up for a really nice quality picture. I had the lighting done right. What I didn't do is I didn't line up as much as I could. And then of course I can take it to photo editing where I can slim this. It still has it's more of a finished sketch than a final piece of artwork. And that's the separate too. But since I drew it for somebody and I had progression shots, you can see that I did that. I even have a ghostwriter aerial that I did. And this will be a good one. I just want to show you something. So I did my dog Star. And if you saw the lasso video, you see that I had used, so this was the picture I used to draw her in marker, because we were doing pictures for the Humane Society for them to give away for adoption. So I used a real photo and then I did a marker image, but that was my source for that, and I just created that. So even having your sources of what you put into it, so if you're using pictures, and even if you just know the name of the photographer and stuff, putting a Google Doc and saying, hey, that way if you ever need to like have a site, if you ever have to cite like the inspiration to your artwork, you kind of have all that information there. I know it sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. I'm going to just pop all the way back to portfolio. Paintings, I want to show you another negative thing. As you can see, I have acrylic, oil, tempera, other, because I'm not going to have a lot of tempera. I'm talking about the classical tempera, not the elementary tempera, and watercolor. I'm going to jump to acrylic because I didn't take photos of all my paintings. And so I took a photo of this one, and once again, I didn't really take a really great photo. It wasn't a bad photo, I can crop it. But the other two, I had a series of three. This is Charlie Chaplin, by the way. So I had a series of three, but I only have one good photo of one. Now, because of my ability of using Photoshop and cropping, I can create actually, because I actually took a good photo of these series. That's why it's good when you do art shows and stuff. Do take very good photos, because you might end up with a better photo than when you do it by single artworks there. Sorry for the stuttering, and so let's move along. And we got sketches. This is where I have all my sketches. So here we got a sketch. Now, this is from 1990. This is over 30 years old, but I still took a photo of my sketch. I actually still own it, because you might even recognize the table. I found it. It was just probably a doodle that I did. And then you can see another sketch I did 4 years later. So I did get better, and I think I'm even better yet. I think you guys are the same way. So the more you work at something, the better you get. But I'm storing my sketches just because maybe 30 years ago I didn't have the ability to draw something, but I do now. And so I do some tattoo art, do some drawings, I keep those there. Now, the Year of the Dragon. I did a lot of dragons. Most of them were digital. I did some pen and ink, but it was the graphite ones that I did. And this is where you can see, I'm going to start with this. I'm going to just show you progress. And the difference between progress and inquiry or investigation into the artwork, as you can see, as I build each day, whether I could sit for 2 hours. I didn't have a comfortable chair at that time. And if you probably noticed, my chairs don't squeak in my videos anymore, if you've been watching me since the beginning. I have a Secret Labs chair, and I love it. It's good for my back, too, and I can actually sit a lot longer. I thought I was worth it. And you can see how big the artwork was. I took a couple pictures of that just kind of to show that, and then I'm going to go back and just so you can see this. So I have a picture of the final. Let's just do this. I'm going to hit the rename thing because I want you to see how long I did the title. As you can see, I have Blue Butterfly Dragon 20 by 24 graphite and watercolor. And I'm going to, of course, keep that title. And that's where you really want to do on your finished pieces. Now, sometimes I've discovered, if you look at this one, I'm going to go back to this finished piece. If I'm entering stuff in a contest, that big, doing the whole thing might not work with the subject matter. So you can take your artwork, you crop the piece, like the best piece of it. And I thought my head view was, of course, the best piece, because they may only want something like this. And I can send it like that. So it becomes like two different pieces that way. The other thing you can do once you learn like how to adjust things digitally, you can actually clean up some of the mistakes in your artwork. You can make your white a little whiter, but be careful not to do too much. I usually try to avoid anything. In the past, I would saturate the black because you would see like in ink and stuff. And I took away my brush strokes and my ink lines and how I did it with the flows. And I think it affected my artwork. So what I want to talk about taking pictures, two things you need to be careful of. One is I have this painting, and it was a pretty good photo. But if you look at this, because of my lighting source, I had overhead light going on, so it actually kind of bled some of the and reflected some of the color, but that is not as rich. It should be this over here, the same kind of black over here, but the light is reflecting. So be aware of your lighting sources. So I had invested into two LED lights, LED lights, to help drain out any overhead lighting that I have, or just purely use the LED lights, depending on when I'm taking a photo. I bought the black paper. You see that I'm actually, when I do my drawings now, I have black paper underneath. I don't only just do that for the videos to kind of get rid of the white. I'm doing that just so when I crop, worst case scenarios, I have a little bit of black. And then the other thing is not taking it out of the frame. I can't tell you, like even myself, seeing people take reflections, so you see that. Now, I did not talk about investigation and inquiry. So we know what we kind of need to do to take a good photo, and a finished photo. So we're gonna go back to the Year of the Dragon. So you'll notice up here I have sketches, a concept. These were 9 by 12, and these were investigations of how to do the dragon in watercolor and graphite. I had never done that before, and doing butterfly wings on a dragon, I have never done that before. So I then did the large version. I guess I didn't need to really click out, and to show how I can do that on a large scale. And you'll notice that the reflection, even though with graphite there is still reflection. By the way, if you're into graphite, Faber-Castell now has a matte pencil. I wish I had those when I was doing that, just to kind of kill some of the reflection. So when this went to the art show, of course, the top part really kind of reflected the light, so you lost some of the depth. That's why you would want to do that, is to use a matte pencil. But this becomes, when I have like experiment with watercolors, like my practice sheets, taking photos of that becomes my investigation or my inquiry into why I was developing this butterfly dragon. When we talk about fantasy art or fantasy creatures and what it means throughout history. So like even writing that up and putting in this as part of this portfolio, will be helpful to you. Now that's something more that a student will do, but you never know what kind of competitions you might enter. So having just like even Cliff Notes, so that way you can add to it if you need to. So I hope I answered that part. In a future video, I will talk about how to watermark your artwork, in case you don't know how to do that. I'll probably show you free programs and stuff like that you can do that with your artwork, and that way you can post it online and at least make it a little more difficult for people if they try to steal your artwork. If you are a student, let's say you're making some artwork. Let's say we'll go to graphite, and you lost your picture of your eye. You're working on your eye. As you can see, my eye is not finished, and I lose it. But if I took a picture of it as progress, I at least have something to show the art instructor. And now for me, of course, I'd give you a grade. Now, there is always a consequence for losing stuff, but if you were totally finished and had like my butterfly dragon, where I can just accept that. If something happens to it, let's say it gets destroyed, even in classrooms, the roof leaks, destroys your artwork, but at least we have something to grade. Now, of course, if the building is leaking, we have something, even if it's damaged. But if you take it out, you were going to take it home to work on and you lost it, you went to a sports practice and you forgot it there. Those are the things, having that progress. The other thing too is the reason you want to take pictures of steps. Just think about this. You might have a fantastic idea, but because of your ability level, it may not turn out very well. but you had liked it in the beginning, and the way it looked in the beginning is what you originally intended, but you just couldn't get there. You can go back in your steps and see where you started having trouble, where it went south. And as your ability grows, you can go back to some of your old ideas and just redo them and put more of your style and your personality in there. Okay, guys, I hope this was helpful. If you're one of my students at the high school, you will be doing this for sure. And this is something that a lot of students, after they get out of high school, even after college, they've been asking me how I set up a portfolio. Here you go. Here is my example. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. And don't forget, you are amazing, you're beautiful, you're important, and more importantly, you're never alone. Bye-bye.